starseeders of ancient Mu. Imagine a time long before recorded history, a time when the Pacific Ocean held a vast continent, known in myth and legend as Lemuria or Mu. This legendary land was not just a product of our imagination, but a real place. I suggest that beings from a distant star system arrived on Earth, not as conquerors, but as tenders of a new garden. They saw our young world, teeming with potential, and chose it as a new home. These visitors were not primitive. They were beings of immense wisdom and technological prowess, possessing knowledge that we are only now beginning to comprehend. Their journey across the cosmos was not made in crude rockets, but in vessels of pure light and energy. These celestial travelers found a paradise in Lemuria. The air was pure, the land was fertile, and the planet was alive with a vibrant, resonant energy. For these beings who had come from a world that had evolved beyond physical constraints, Earth was a sanctuary. It was a chance to connect with the physical existence in a way that was profound and meaningful. They walked the land, felt the sun on their skin, and breathed the air of a world that was fresh and new. This was not just a colony, it was a homecoming. They decided to stay, to become a part of the world's unfolding story, and to guide the nascent life that was emerging all around them. Their arrival was a quiet one, not an invasion marked by fire and destruction. It was a gentle settling, a seeding of consciousness. Oral traditions from across the Pacific, from the Maori of New Zealand, the Australian Hopi, or the indigenous peoples of the Americas, speak of sky gods and civilizing heroes who brought knowledge of agriculture, astronomy, and art. Could these be distorted memories of these original star-seeders? The evidence, some say, is written in the very stones of ancient sites like the megalithic structures found on remote Pacific islands. These are not the work of primitive people, but the legacy of a culture with a deep understanding of engineering and cosmology, an understanding that it was more so a gift from the stars, the gods. The decision to make Earth their home was a monumental one. It meant abandoning their old life among the stars and embracing a new destiny tied to this planet. They were faced with a choice to maintain their advanced technology and risk corrupting the natural development of Earth, or to put it aside and live in harmony with their new environment. They chose the latter, a path of wisdom and foresight. They became the ancestors, the ancient ones, whose presence is still felt in the spiritual beliefs of many cultures. They became the silent guardians of humanity, their story relegated to myth, waiting for a time when we would be ready to understand the truth of our own cosmic origins. The star visitors of Lemuria made a profound choice. They decided to fully commit to their new terrestrial home. This meant they could no longer keep their magnificent starships, their light canoes, in plain sight. These vessels were marvels of technology, humming with energies that could be misunderstood and misused by the developing life on Earth. To display such power openly would be to make themselves gods, to create a power imbalance that would forever alter the natural course of human evolution. Their goal was not to rule, but to nurture, and so they made the decision to hide their celestial vehicles, to place them in a state of hibernation until humanity was ready for their rediscovery. Where could one hide something as advanced as a starship? The answer, according to legend, was in the one place on Earth as vast and mysterious as space itself, the deep ocean. The Pacific abyss, with its crushing pressures and eternal darkness, became the perfect vault. The visitors guided their luminous craft into the deep trenches that surround the volcanic hotspots of the Pacific Ring of Fire. Here, the ships would be safe from the ravages of time and the prying eyes of nascent civilizations. It was an act of incredible foresight, a deliberate sealing away of their past for the sake of our future. They trusted that the planet itself would be the ultimate guardian of their legacy. This act was also a symbol of their commitment. By placing their only means of returning to the stars into the planet's deepest vaults, they were severing ties with their past. They were no longer visitors, they were Earthlings. They embraced a simpler way of life, integrating their knowledge into the natural world around them. They taught through subtle means, through inspiration and dreams, guiding the local populations without revealing their true, otherworldly nature. Their technology was not lost but preserved, waiting for a future generation that could wield its power with wisdom rather than with greed or fear. The ships became sleeping giants, their energy cores dimmed to a faint whisper in the dark. Over millennia, the great continent of Lemuria itself met with a cataclysmic fate and sank beneath the waves. The high peaks of this lost land are said to be the islands we see today, such as those that form the Hawaiian archipelago. The sinking of their home only solidified the visitors' decision. Their ships were now truly buried, not just by water, but by earth, time, and geology. The memory of the Starseeders and their luminous canoes faded into the collective unconscious, becoming the foundation for myths of a lost paradise like Atlantis or Mu. But what if these ships are not just a myth? What if they are still there, waiting in the silent, crushing dark? What were these light canoes that the ancient visitors commanded? To call them spaceships is to use a term that is far too simple, too mechanical, too physical. They were not machines of nuts and bolts, but were closer to living organisms. Ancient texts describe sky vehicles, or vimanas, that could be piloted by thought alone. Could the Lemurian vessels have been similar? Imagine a craft that responds not to levers and buttons, but to the consciousness of its pilot. A craft that merges with the mind, becoming an extension of the pilot's will. To travel to a distant star, one would not need to calculate a trajectory. One would simply need to intend to be there, and the vessel would understand. The propulsion system of these star canoes did not rely on burning fossil fuels or expelling mass. Instead, they manipulated the very fabric of space-time. They used light and sound in ways we can barely imagine, creating localized fields that negated the force of gravity. Think of it like a boat on water. A boat doesn't fight the water. It uses its shape and buoyancy to float upon it. In the same way, these light canoes didn't fight gravity with brute force. They simply stepped outside of its influence. They could hover silently, move at impossible speeds without creating a sonic boom, and change direction instantly because they were not moving through space, but were moving space around them. To an ancient observer on the ground, the sight would have been baffling and divine. A light canoe descending from the sky would not have roared like a modern jet. It would have been silent, perhaps emitting a low, harmonious hum. It might have glowed with a soft internal luminescence, its color shifting like a living creature. It would appear to simply materialize in the sky, hang motionless against the wind, and then vanish in the blink of an eye. With no visible means of propulsion, no wings, no propellers, no rockets, it would be logical for our ancestors to describe these as celestial chariots, or the magical canoes of the gods, beings who could command the sky itself. This mastery over gravity is the ultimate technological mystery. It is the key to interstellar travel via a channel of consciousness, the holy grail of modern physics. These ancient visitors had solved it. Their ships did not need to be aerodynamic because they were not subject to air resistance. They could be shaped like spheres, disks, or pyramids, forms that we see depicted in ancient art and reported in modern UFO sightings. The energy source for such a craft is just as equally esoteric, drawing power from the vacuum of space itself, or from the resonant frequencies of the planet. These were not just vehicles, they were instruments of cosmic harmony, powered by the fundamental forces of the universe. Is it possible that these ancient visitors, these Starseeders of Lemuria, never truly left? Perhaps their descendants walk among us today. Perhaps they continue their mission of quiet guidance, subtly influencing our art, our science, and our spiritual awakening. The legends of many indigenous cultures, particularly in the Polynesian Triangle, speak of ancestors who came from the stars and promised to one day return. In places like Hawaii, the respect for the Aumakua, the ancestral spirits who guide and protect, could be a modern echo of this ancient connection to the star people. The wisdom is not lost, but has been woven into the cultural fabric of the people. The Hawaiian Islands are a place of immense geological power and spiritual energy. They are, as some legends claim, the mountain peaks of the sunken continent of Lemuria. Is it a coincidence that this region is also a modern hotspot for unidentified anomalous phenomena? or UAPs. Fishermen and pilots have reported strange lights moving under the water and emerging from the sea, moving in ways that defy our known laws of physics. Could these be the ancient light canoes, stirring from their long slumber? Are they activating in response to our own technological advancement and our growing awareness of the cosmos? The ocean depths may hold more than just shipwrecks and strange sea creatures. The evidence is all around us if we are willing to look. It is in the impossible engineering of ancient megaliths, whose sacred geometry reveals incredible revelations, hidden within its physical architecture and construction, such as the golden ratio, the speed of light, and the circumference of Earth, not to mention their precise alignments with star constellations. Shattering the long myths of sky gods across disconnected cultures and the persistent, unexplained phenomena in our skies and seas. These are not separate mysteries, but pieces of a single epic story, the story of our cosmic family. The visitors did not leave us helpless. They left behind a legacy of knowledge encoded in myth and stone, and they left their incredible vessels hidden in the safest place they could find, waiting for the day we would be ready to join them as equals among the stars. Perhaps the final chapter of this story is not about them returning from a distant star, but about humanity rising from the depths of our own inner spiritual, mental, and emotional realms, which directly equate and result from the denial, misunderstanding, and lack of effort in decoding the conscious, subconscious, and unconscious mind in coexistence with the human heart and that of true cosmic emotions, feeling, understanding, and therefore being. The return of Lemuria may not be a physical rising of a continent, nor the return of our star ancestors arriving from Earth's ancient past, re-emerging into our future. Oh no, but rather the rising of human consciousness, both individually and collectively. For the rise in the collective consciousness creates similar kinetic motions of the domino effect. For when an individual decides to become more aware of what is, this process of etheric curiosity generates a profound astral warp within one's immediate field, felt via one's own subtle body, prana node, chakra system, or energetic vessel, which, as we know, is always and forever, until the time of the vessel's physical recycling, energetically tied to the field of the ancient Mother Earth. You see, this is why it's so difficult, for you existing as a human upon this earth have always been and remained connected. For one comes into this realm with the pure heart of a defenseless child, with such dramatically raw innocence of a tiny baby. Immediately as one enters into the physical world, one's clean, unadulterated spirit, one's celestial psyche is promptly and directly affected, not by the Mother Earth's more dense field, rather by the beings you call neighbors, as the ancient mother's consciousness is composed of all biological life upon her. As modern man has fallen from source, it is us, the humans, whom have turned our planetary field of consciousness into a dumpster fire. For the mother too is suffering, not from her doing, however, but from ours. So arrogant to destroy our home, as Gaia holds on simply for the existence of love and for the love of existence. Not from this ignorant human perspective nor understanding, as the collective reside within this lower consciousness field of awareness and therefore existence. And yet, they remain so conditioned, they don't even notice, nor can even imagine there is more, especially a realm of this profoundly. For one came from a more pure realm prior to such, yet this effect upon consciousness is too a double-bladed sword, meaning this equation of vibrational being may work in, Oregon be reversed. As one's physical avatar reawakens to the fifth-dimensional crystalline field of the higher, the Grand Mother Gaia, rather than that of Mother Earth's lower, third-dimensional electromagnetic grid. As a shockwave is produced, imagine a pool. Is one or two people splash, the others in the pool may not be affected. However, if everyone in the pool jumped and splashed with all of their might, the entire pool would become a wave pool, to the point where those not participating, regardless, are bobbing up and down, perhaps some even against their own human will, awaken to the profound truth of our past. The light canoes are not just a legend, they are a promise that we are not alone in the universe, and that our potential is far greater than we have ever been led to believe. The next step in human evolution is to finally look within our own planet's vast genetic and galactic history and lineage, listening intently to the silent echoes from the depths. For the first quantum leap took mankind from asleep into the awareness of humanity's desperately fractalized, more dense consciousness. However, the second quantum leap will take humanity out of the singular conscious and into the beginnings of all things, into the realm of the truly divine.